she said. It's really not a big deal. He's just a little better than you at some things, I answered. Then maybe he should be the one covering your expenses as well. After that, I ended our lease and took the promotion, leaving nothing behind except silence. She said, It's really not a big deal. He's just a little better than you at some things. The words didn't echo. They didn't need to. They landed clean and heavy, like a glass set too hard on a quiet table. We were standing in the kitchen of the apartment we'd chosen together 2 years ago. Morning light spilled across the marble counter, catching the rim of her coffee mug, the one I had bought her on our first anniversary. She wasn't looking at me. She was scrolling, thumb moving absently, as if she had just commented on the weather. I noticed everything in that moment. The packed lunch I had prepared for her sitting untouched near the door, the framed photo of us at the lake, slightly crooked, the silence between her words and my breathing. Somewhere inside me, something precise and final shifted into place. I answered, calm and steady. Then maybe he should be the one covering your expenses as well. She finally looked up, but by then it was already too late. I had always been the stable one, not the loudest in the room, not the most impressive at first glance, but the one things quietly depended on. When we met, I was still climbing, still building something fragile and invisible. She liked that about me then. She used to say I had potential. The way people talk about land they expect will eventually turn into something valuable. Back then we split everything evenly. Groceries, rent, plans, dreams. But somewhere along the way, the balance shifted without announcement. My promotion had come with longer hours, and longer hours slowly turned into silent assumptions. I paid more often, covered the unexpected bills, fixed things before she noticed they were broken. She never asked me to. She simply stopped offering, and I never complained. Not when she forgot my birthday dinner because of her office party. Not when she started mentioning him, her co-worker, with casual admiration. His car, his confidence, his effortless success. I told myself it was harmless. People compare, people admire, but admiration has a tone when it lives too long in someone's voice. I began to notice how she spoke to me versus how she spoke about him. With me, there was patience. With him, there was respect. And respect, I realized, was the one thing she had quietly stopped giving away for free. It never happened all at once. It arrived in fragments so small they were easy to dismiss. One night, she came home later than usual, the faint smell of cologne clinging to her coat, not mine. She placed her keys down gently, as if trying not to wake something fragile. I was sitting on the couch with my laptop open, the promotion email glowing quietly on the screen. She didn't notice it. She didn't ask about my day. Instead, she said, Daniel stayed late too. He doesn't even complain. He just handles things. The words stayed with me long after she fell asleep. Another evening, her car wouldn't start. I drove across the city in traffic to reach her. By the time I arrived, she was already standing outside, leaning against his car, laughing. Not nervously, comfortably. Oh, she said when she saw me. No relief, no gratitude, just mild surprise. He offered, but I told him you were on the way. Told him, not needed me, not waited for me. I nodded, fixed the issue in silence, and watched her thank him more warmly than she thanked me. It was never what she said outright. It was what she no longer needed to say at all. The email came at 9:12 p.m. I was alone in the apartment when the notification appeared, its soft chime barely breaking the silence. I opened it slowly, not expecting much. But as I read the words, I felt something unfamiliar settle into my chest. Senior Regional Director. Immediate transition. Relocation required. It was everything I had been working toward for years. Longer hours, quiet sacrifices, missed weekends, all of it had led here. I didn't celebrate. I just sat there, staring at the screen while the room remained exactly the same. She came home an hour later, distracted, her attention still somewhere else. I told her the news carefully, not needing excitement, just acknowledgement. She blinked, processing. That's good, she said after a pause. Then, almost as an afterthought, Daniel turned down something like that last year. He said it wasn't worth disrupting his life. Not congratulations. Not pride, just comparison. In that moment, the last piece fell into place. It wasn't that she didn't understand what it meant. It was that she didn't value what it meant when it was mine. For the first time, I stopped asking myself how to earn her respect, and started asking why I was still living somewhere it didn't exist at all. I didn't argue with her again after that night. Arguments require the belief that something can still be fixed. Instead, I began reading. The lease agreement was in my name. I remembered signing it because her credit history had been complicated at the time. Back then, it felt like partnership. Now it felt like clarity. I reviewed every clause carefully. Termination conditions, notice periods, penalties. My promotion package included relocation coverage, including lease exit fees. They had already solved the only obstacle that might have made me hesitate. At work, I accepted the offer the next morning, calmly, professionally, no announcement beyond what was required. I opened a new bank account and redirected my salary, cancelled the shared subscriptions I had quietly maintained for years. Electricity, internet, insurance. Each one a small thread I untied without noise. She didn't notice. She still came home, still placed her keys on the counter, still lived inside the stability I had built. But stability, I realized, isn't permanent. It's provided. I began packing only what belonged to me. My documents, my watch, the books I had paid for but never finished reading. I left everything else exactly where it was, including the illusion that nothing was about to change. I chose a Tuesday morning. There's something about Tuesdays, ordinary, forgettable. No one expects their life to divide itself on a Tuesday. She left for work in a hurry, distracted as always. Her coffee sat half-finished on the counter. She didn't notice the suitcase near the door. She didn't notice the empty space in the closet where my clothes had been. She didn't notice me watching her leave. The apartment was silent after the door clicked shut. I stood there for a moment, not waiting for regret, just acknowledging the end of something that had already been over for a long time. I placed the envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside was the lease termination confirmation, the final utility statements. No explanations, no accusations, just facts. By noon, I handed the keys to the building manager. He nodded indifferent. To him, it was routine. To me, it was release. My phone buzzed once while I was in the elevator. Her name appeared on the screen. I didn't open the message. Outside, the air felt different, cleaner. For the first time in years, nothing in my life depended on someone who had already stopped choosing me. Her messages became more frequent as the hours passed. At first, confusion. Why did the building manager call me? Then realization. What do you mean the lease is terminated? And finally, the part she never expected to feel. Can we talk? I didn't respond immediately. Not out of cruelty, but because for the first time, urgency no longer belonged to me. By evening, mutual friends began reaching out. Not accusing, just curious. The kind of careful curiosity people use when they sense something irreversible has happened. She seemed upset, one of them said. She didn't know you were leaving. That part stayed with me. She didn't know. Not because I hid it, but because she had stopped paying attention long before. I stopped being there. At work, the announcement of my promotion spread. Quickly. Handshakes. Respect. People looking at me differently, as if I had stepped into focus. It wasn't the title that changed me. It was the absence of being quietly diminished. For years, I had lived inside someone else's evaluation of my worth. And the dangerous thing about that is how easily you begin to believe it yourself. Sometimes, the most important thing you can recover isn't the relationship. It's the version of yourself that existed before it. The new apartment was smaller, but it was entirely mine. No shared decisions. No quiet negotiations. Just space that reflected exactly who I was becoming. The first night, I sat on the floor with my back against the wall, surrounded by unopened boxes. The city outside moved without caring who I used to be. Headlights passed across the window in slow, fleeting lines, like reminders that everything continues whether you're ready or not. My phone lit up once more, her name. I looked at it for a long time, not with anger, but with distance. I realized then that revenge had never been about making her feel small. It was about refusing to remain where I had been made to feel small myself. I didn't need her regret to validate my decision. I had my promotion, my independence, my silence. In the weeks that followed, I built routines that belonged only to me. Morning coffee without tension, evenings without comparison, sleep without quiet resentment. She had chosen someone she thought was better, and I had chosen myself. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's becoming someone who no longer needs them to notice at all.